I want to talk to you guys about how to get that better center image in your two-channel stereo. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. I want to talk to you guys about how you can get that better phantom center when you're listening to your two-channel system. Now, before I get into how to do that, I want to define first what phantom center is. Basically, when you're listening to a pair of speakers in the stereo configuration, if they're properly positioned and they're all properly in phase, you should be able to hear like the vocals are coming from a virtual center channel if you're sitting equidistantly between the two speakers. And depending on the dispersion characteristics of the speakers, depending on the room acoustics, you could get this for a very narrow area, maybe one seat, maybe two, or you can get it for a wider area. A lot of it depends on, just the characteristics of the speakers and how everything's set up in your room. Generally speaking, though, if you want that really focused phantom center for the main listening position, that's really mostly in one area that you're going to get that sound, and then you'll just get it tapered off. It won't quite sound the same way. You won't quite hear the image of the person's voice when they're singing coming directly in center if you're too far to one side of the room or too far to the other side of the room. But I want to talk mostly about two-channel setups, getting you guys to improve your center image. And a lot of this has to do with potentially what's near your speakers. Now, I'm going to assume for the minute that you guys optimized your speaker locations. This is just a really crude diagram on our channel or on our site. If you're sitting 10 feet away from the speakers, rule of thumb, you put the speakers about 80% or 8 feet apart from each other, and you keep them off a front wall and you keep them off a side wall, and you try to get them to play into the room. This will ensure that you get just, better imaging between the speakers, a larger soundstage. But rarely do people look at how to improve the center image. I've set up so many speaker systems for people, or I've been to their houses and listened to them, and it sounded great. Tonality, everything was great. But when I sat down in the main listening position, it sounded like the vocals were on both sides of the speaker, not deadly focused in the center. So to improve that, you got to first look at your room acoustics, obviously. We've talked in the past about the symmetry on the walls between the left and right speaker. As you can see in my theater room, both speakers are loading into the room very similarly. Side walls are essential for a really good stereo sound and imaging. Now, what you do behind the speakers is what really is important. Ideal situation here is my theater room. I've got an acoustically transparent screen with a center channel behind it, and I use this opportunity to fill that whole area with very dense foam. And then I put the acoustically transparent screen over it. Now that wall, even though it looks like there's a reflecting screen on there, it's still doing absorption because it's a perforated screen. It's an acoustically transparent screen. And it's not just destroying the high end of the system because it's thick foam. So it's effective even at lower frequencies. A lot of people will do nothing with the front wall, or they'll put things in front of the front wall between the speakers, and that could cause all sorts of refraction, which leads to more reflections, which doesn't help the stereo image. So I want to give you a couple of examples of normal systems, reasonably normal systems. I'm actually going to criticize some of the systems in my house the way they're set up now. So if you look at, this is the music room that I have all of our instruments in when I play drums or keyboards and my daughter plays guitar. I just wanted a little two-channel system in there. But there's two things that are preventing a really good phantom center image from the speakers. Regardless of what speakers I put in, there's two things that are kind of a no-no. One has that equipment rack is right between the speakers. The other is that TV is just reflecting, energies that isn't a great thing. Although a lot of that is avoidable, you can basically put some wall treatments to the back of the speakers. Honestly, if you can move that rack to the left or the right of the room, kind of like what I did in my old house, you could see my main speakers there. There's nothing really in between them. There's a center channel that's, a few feet back, so it's not causing the refraction. And I've got some wall treatments with absorption on that wall. And look, the rack is on the right side. And I had excellent imaging in a system like that. So in this case, with the office, I would like to move that rack over to the other side where that lamp is. And potentially I might do that and put some wall treatments. But really, this is just kind of a test bed room. It's not something that I do my super critical listening in. So the next system that is problematic is right here in this room. I've got these awesome Revel speakers in here. I've got Anthem STR electronics, but because it's an office and I can't win every victory with my wife. She's been great in allowing me to do all this audio stuff in the house, but she wants a functional house as well. So that entertainment center is a problem because there's a projector on it, a short throw projector. So it's about 12 or 14 inches off the wall. And I've got that end table with the Monopoly game and that NAD amplifier that I'm testing right now. And that's causing all sorts of reflections that are just not good. And you could hear, you just don't get that really strong phantom image with the system like this. So the first thing I would do here is I would take, obviously, if you could take that table out of the room, ideally, or roll it to the side of the room. If you could do that when you're listening, do that and have a good thick throw rug or some padded surface on the floor, the first reflection points. But another option would be to get some foam, that same foam I was talking about, the memory foam, like the bed foam that you could get at Walmart that I used on my acoustically transparent screen. Cover the table or get some acoustic treatments. Put them there when you want to listen to music. I'm telling you, that's going to make a big difference if you have a table there. And then back to this picture, obviously putting some absorption on that wall would really help. It would be better not to have that wall unit there. But what you can do is pull the speakers at least 3 inches forward of the wall unit to help minimize some of those reflections. I mean, if you could get more space than that, even better. But that is a common problem right there. So if you guys address what you're doing on the front wall and you get some absorption in those critical areas and you don't have anything obstructing the speakers between the speakers and slightly in front of the speakers, you're going to definitely get a stronger phantom center. So that way, when you're sitting down, you're listening to, I don't know, James Taylor, or you're listening to something that's a really high quality recording with vocals, you're going to hear him singing dead center. Unless it was recorded differently, ideally, that's what you're going to hear. You're going to feel like you got the instruments to the sides and you got him just singing dead center. And people are going to be like, you got that center channel on. You're going to be like, no, I don't. No way. That's the real deal. When you could trick someone into thinking there's a center channel on in a 2-channel system, you've done some magic. So guys, I hope you found this video useful. Please thumb up, please subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to us. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.